I conjure thee, O circle of power, that thou beest a meeting place of love and joy and truth, a shield against all wickedness and evil, a boundary between the world of men and the realms of the mighty ones, a rampart of protection that shall preserve and contain the power raised within thee. So mote it be.
Ye lords of the watchtowers of the east, ye lords of air, I do summon, stir, and call thee forth to witness these rites and to guard this circle. Hail and welcome. Ye lords of the watchtowers of the south, ye lords of fire, I do summon, stir, and call thee forth to witness these rites and to guard this circle. Hail and welcome.
Ye lords of the watchtowers of the west, ye lords of water, I do summon, stir, and call thee forth to witness these rites and to guard this circle. Hail and welcome.
Ye lords of the watchtowers of the north, ye lords of earth, I do summon, stir, and call thee forth to witness these rites and to guard this circle. Hail and welcome.
Hello, I'm Selena, the High Priestess of Triple Goddess Coven. Triple Goddess Coven is a registered non-profit church in Washington State and has federal 501c3 status. Our mission is to bring the community amazing rituals so that we can worship together. Our long-term goal is to have a property where we can establish a church building for worship. I would like to thank you for attending our public ritual tonight. We will be celebrating Yule, the winter solstice of 2020. And with that said, I would like to introduce your priestess for Yule, Aura.
Hello. My name is Aura, and I will be your high priestess this evening.
And I'm Aaron, dedicant of Triple Goddess Coven.
And now we're going to invoke the goddess. Queen of the stars, Queen of the moon, Queen of the horns, and Queen of fire, we hereby call the goddess to this circle. Hail and welcome.
Hail and welcome.
And now we shall invoke the god. Lord of life, seed of light, flame that warms the coldest night, we hereby call the god to this circle. Hail and welcome.
Hail and welcome.
Welcome to our Yule celebration, everyone. We are now at the darkest part of the year. This is the time of year when we are all wondering, is it really only 7 o'clock? Because it feels like 10 o'clock. It is late. We decorate our homes with light and bring the outdoor evergreens inside to remind us that there's still life even in this dark season. We drink hot beverages and we snuggle up with our loved ones. Even in modern times, we can't ignore the winter's effects on our lives. Do you feel the pull to go to bed earlier, to relax more and do less? Mother Earth is showing us that there must be a time to rest, a time to turn inwards and celebrate not just the light returning, but also the healing darkness. We are a people who celebrate the seasons, not just because our ancestors celebrated the seasons, but because we are still living here on this earth, the same earth that our ancestors lived in, with the same seasons. We still experience all of the seasons, and they have something to teach us. We all need to rest sometimes, to sit down and stop doing. Right now, our Mother Earth is resting, but at the same time, busy. She is restoring herself so she will be ready for the spring rebirth. This year's been really hard for many people. It has hit us with unexpected hardships left and right. But even in the face of hardships, there are lessons to be learned, and there is hope for the future. The circle always turns, and this too shall pass. Soon the sun shall be born again, and we will resume our outward lives. But for now, let us rest and count our blessings that we have. Today, for our working, we're going to be making a Yule goat to protect and bless us in the upcoming year. You will need to have your goat cut out of cardboard and your yarn, as well as any herbs that you've picked to use today. So I have picked rosemary to use with my Yule goat. This Yule goat is a very protective Yule goat, and as many of you know, rosemary is a very protective herb. I also was excited to see that my rosemary is in bloom. I'm not sure what it's in bloom for because there's no bees, but it has a mind of its own. So my partner here, Erin, is going to show us how we wrap the Yule goat with our yarn and our herbs. And you can pick anything you would like to wrap with your Yule goat. You can use stones, you can use herbs, you could anoint the cardboard with oils, essential oils beforehand. You can write runes on the inside of the cardboard before you wrap the yarn around it. And even the colors that you pick can be representative of what you would like to protect in your life.
It could be a multicolored zebra if you choose.
Yes, any colors that speak to you, that say protection and family and love. So this is considered talisman magic. We have essentially created a talisman in order to protect our family. Our Yule goat is to protect our family. However, you could make your Yule goat to protect pets, your building, your job, anything that you feel needs protecting. And I think that this year especially, we could all use a little extra protection. So as you can see from the way that we've wrapped our Yule goat, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's just whatever works for you, and it's a fun project. You can have kids help you.
Like if you're horse people, you could deliberately make it look like a saddle or something. It's just be creative.
So after we're done wrapping our Yule goat and wrapping him with our little protective rosemary, we are going to chant over him and fill him with energy. And also, when the season is done, or maybe next year, if you would like to, if you keep your goat all year long, then you can burn your goat and make a new goat for the next year, sort of like a Yule log, except you're burning a Yule goat. It's like a little sacrifice.
Yes, thank you, goat, for such a good year.
All right, so at this point, we're going to fill our Yule goat with protective energy. Make sure to repeat this part with real feeling. So you should be able to see this chant, and you can chant it with us. You are really putting the energy of your intent into this goat. So before you do your chant, you want to take a deep breath and really gather that core energy of your chakras and start channeling it through your hands and then into your goat. And I'm going to hold this up so that Erin can also see the words.
Proud Yule goat, to you we pray. Keep us out of harm's way. Keep us always safe and warm. Preserve our health with this charm. Throughout this year we will have no fear. So mote it be.
Yay! All right. So our little Yule goat is going to sit here with Krampus, and they can talk it over. Yule is the coziest time of year. This is when we all want to curl up with our blankies in front of a fire and listen to stories. So let us honor that urge We're going to read The Solstice Badger by Robin McFadden. Enjoy.
The Solstice Badger. Written and illustrated by Robin McFadden. For Mom. Back in the very beginning, when the world was young, it was always summer. The sun walked unhurriedly across the sky in joy each day. But there came a time when his head grew heavy, his light was weaker, and all the first creatures wondered and worried. One evening, as he was descending beneath the earth and the moon was rising, she called out to him across the gulfs of the sky, "My brother, you seem sad. What is wrong?" "Oh, sister, I am so lonely. Everything on earth, down to the little field mouse, has a companion. Even you have the stars. But I am alone," he sighed. "Oh, I see," said she. "I will spread the word, dear brother, and we will find you a friend." The moon whispers to the sea each night, and the sea listens. On this night, she told it what the sun had said. The sea told the fishes, and the fishes told the birds. The sun is lonely. Soon all the creatures of the air had heard the news, and they gathered to discuss the matter. "What could be simpler?" cawed the first crow, ruffling her white feathers. "I myself will fly to the sun and keep him company." So it was that in the morning, as the sun began his journey, he saw a tiny white speck flying towards him. It grew bigger as it approached, and the sun thought, joyfully, "Someone is coming to see me." It took Crow a long time to reach him, but she was as strong as she was stubborn, and finally alighted breathless on the sun's strong arm. "I am here to accompany you, my lord," she gasped, bowing respectfully. But the sun was dismayed, for her feathers were blackening as he watched. "I thank you for your courage and compassion, little grandmother, but I fear that if you stay with me, you will soon burn up altogether. Please go back home." Crow, her last white feathers frizzling away, was hurting too much to speak. She nodded and left. The next day, the hummingbird declared that he would try. "Things that move quickly don't burn," he said, "and the sun must have a companion." So he shot up into the sky like a comet, up and up, but it was much farther than he had thought. He wasn't quite halfway there when his tiny breast went crimson with effort, and he fell, exhausted, back to the earth. After him, the eagle made the attempt, and the osprey, and the albatross, and even the fat little sparrow. All the birds tried and failed. The sun grew more and more dismal. Far down under the surface of the earth, there is a river that flows from west to east, carrying anyone bold enough to lie in its swift current. It runs from horizon to horizon, and both the sun and moon rest in its waters whenever they aren't in the sky. Near this east-flowing river, through a cave and to the left, lived the first badger. His tunnels went everywhere, and he loved the bright jewels he found in the darkness. He ate well on root vegetables, mushrooms, and subterranean berries. His home was a giant geode whose walls glittered and sparkled. In his solitude, he was content. One night, he heard someone crying and quickly followed the sound down one of his tunnels to the banks of the river east flowing. There he found the sun, who had climbed out of the water for a while so he could weep where no one would see him. "What is wrong?" Badger asked gently. The sun, startled, jumped to his feet. "A new creature," he said. "I have never seen anything like you before, but you should run away before I burn you." And he sobbed. But Badger shook his head. "I have collected gems in the white-hot center of the world," he said. You will not burn me. Come to my home and have tea." And, smiling through his tears, the sun did. They spoke of many things together, as kindred spirits do. At length the sun took his leave, for it was nearly time for morning. That day he rose so clear and bright all things living on earth knew that he must have found a friend, and they were happy for him. That night he went straight to Badger's house, where his own light was refracted and beautified by the crystal walls, and they continued their talks and their stories. Badger loved to hear of the doings of those he called the surface peoples, whom he'd never seen. So the sun obligingly told him tales of turtle and otter, of horse and tree and bird and vine so vividly that Badger could close his eyes and see them. The sun was so engrossed in storytelling, Badger had to remind him when it was past time for him to leave. The next night, it was Badger's turn to speak. He told of the heartbeat of the mother that you can only hear with your bones, and of the fire sprites that dance in the glowing molten places. His adventures among mountain roots and underground geysers and down echoing pitch-black natural stone wells had to be recounted. He told of the shallow tunnels from which he could listen to the surface, if not see it. And they both forgot the time, and the sun left even later than before. Things went on in this way for 6 full moons. The sun would rise a little later every day and walk a little faster across the sky. He was so preoccupied with thinking over things his friend had said or laughing over a joke they had shared that he didn't notice that the world below was changing. The leaves were falling, the winds were bitter, and the very first snow began to fall. The trees took it patiently because trees always do. But all the creatures were miserable. Came a day when the sun fairly sprinted through the sky, for he remembered a story he hadn't told Badger yet and couldn't wait to tell it. But when he reached the geode house, his friend was standing in the doorway looking sad. "Come with me," said Badger, and walked away. The sun hesitated before running to catch up. After all, in all this time he had never gone into the dark places far from the river. Badger led him through many twisting tunnels until he was quite lost. "Now, my friend, listen," he whispered, and the sun realized they were in a shallow tunnel. He listened and heard the sigh of the wind and creaking branches. He heard sounds of shivering and sneezing, but no birdsong and no scampering feet. "You have spent too much time with me," Badger said gently. "The world misses you." The sun was filled with remorse over his thoughtlessness. He would have rushed to the sky and stayed there for weeks, but again his prudent friend stopped him. "Hasty repairs make weak burrows," he said. "We must act wisely now, so we must consult the wisest of all things. You know the world, and I do not. Who should we ask for guidance?" The sun pondered deeply for a moment, his brow furrowed, then said, "The trees are the oldest things on earth, and pine is the eldest of the trees. I think she will know what I must do, but she may be angry with me." "I will go to her," Badger said, "and I will take gifts to soothe her anger." Together, they returned to Badger's home, where they filled a sack with all the most glorious gems he had collected and enough food for a mighty feast. "Wait here for me," he told the sun. Then, for the first time, torch in paw, he tunneled to the surface. Pine stood in a glade in the forest. She was blanketed with snow, but her dignity and foliage were unchanged by the changing weather. Her spreading boughs sheltered a great many of her first creatures. She had hatched from her cone long before the first sunrise and had seen all things born of nothing, so she was not easily surprised. Thus, It was that when Badger scrabbled to the surface before her, she greeted him calmly. "Hello, small animal who befriends the sun," she said, and her deep voice caused the ground to quiver. "Welcome." He bowed low before her and said, "My friend wishes to undo the harm he unwittingly caused. If he went back to his old ways, would the world be healed?" "If he brought the warm back tomorrow," Pine said, "the world would drown in snowmelt and all would be chaos." There was a short silence while the wind howled. Eventually, Badger spoke again. "Wise one, I have brought gifts for you. Will you accept them with our apologies and tell me what advice to give my only friend?" He opened his sack to reveal foods beyond count and jewels without price. Pine looked at them thoughtfully. "A generous gift," she told him, "and one I have no use for. Give them to the creatures who have all suffered more than I. As for the solution, it is simple. The sun must regain his old habits as gradually as he lost them. All good things in this world happen slowly, seeds and eggs and seasons alike." Badger bowed deeply in thanks and turned to go. "You will miss him," her voice, deep as a drumbeat, forestalled any lie. He nodded, and tears filled his eyes. "You need not." The voice of the pine became so resonant, it seemed to come from everywhere at once. "My roots are on Great Mother's pulse, and she speaks now through me. When 7 cycles of the moon have passed, the days will be as long as ever, but then your visits together may grow again. After 13 moons, the pattern will begin anew. For the sun must have a companion, and the badger must be rewarded for his selflessness. And the mother has decided to welcome the dark times and call them winter." All things alive held their breath in a moment of awe. Then it passed. Badger joyfully cried, "So mote it be! And on this night of every year I promise to come to the surface and give gifts to all the small beasts, gifts of thanks and blessing and love and a token of the sun's return." He held his torch up high and sang, "Here, take it, call them." Pine bent forward and grasped the light. When she straightened, it could be seen, held firmly in her topmost twigs. Far and near, the creatures of the forest saw it flickering in the dark and began to draw closer. As they arrived, one by one, they saw that Badger had been busy. Pine was covered in jewels that shimmered and sent rainbows dancing all over the glade. On the ground was spread a banquet enough for everyone and more. Badger watched the glorious feast begin, well satisfied, then tunneled back home as fast as he could to tell the sun the good news. And the next morning began a little earlier. As it was then, when the world was young, so it is today. The seasons turn on the linchpin of a friendship. Each day the sun watches the world and everything in it, for he is collecting stories to tell Badger. Their visits together grow longer every night for half a year. At the darkest times, we still honor the wise old pine by hanging jewels and lights in her branches. And on the longest night of all, Badger still comes to the surface bearing gifts. He gives them to all the small creatures who bear patiently the cold and the darkness, knowing that even the winter will forever be joyful as long as the solstice badger keeps his promise. And he always will.
Today, for our cakes, we have cinnamon rolls that I have renamed sun rolls with an orange flavored glaze. The spirals remind us that the circle is always flowing and the light will always return. O great Lord, bless this food unto our bodies, that it may bestowing health, wealth, and strength. So mote it be.
So mote it be.
I'll give one to the gods. May you never hunger.
May you never hunger.
Is it up to par?
Mm-hmm.
And today for our ale, we have ale. O great lady, most sacred, bless this brew unto our bodies, bestowing health, wealth, and the fulfillment of love and happiness. So mote it be.
So mote it be.
May you never thirst.
May you never thirst.
Thrice welcome, welcome you, winter's cold and season cruel. At the turning of the year, round and round we persevere. Wake from darkness, sun reborn, welcome the flower from the thorn. Taste the light, new life it brings, Yuletide begins all things. Legend tells me of a Lord, born of snow and crowned with horn. Sun Lord dies and Sun Lord lives, death's open hand, new life it gives. Wake from darkness, sun reborn, welcome the flower from the thorn. Taste the light, new life it brings, Yuletide begins all things. Light the fires to guide our way, red and green for brighter days. Holly and ivy you long adorn, hail to the goddess with drinking horn. Wake from darkness, sun reborn, welcome the flower from the thorn. Taste the light, new life it brings, Yuletide begins all things.
All right, we shall now dismiss the gods. Mother Goddess, thank you for joining us in our Yule celebration. Go in peace and in love. Hail and farewell.
Hail and farewell.
Lord of Light, thank you for joining us in our Yule celebration. Go in peace and in love. Hail and farewell.
Hail and farewell.
Thank you everyone so much for joining us in our Yule celebration. May you all have a blessed Yule.
Ye lords of the watchtowers of the north, ye lords of earth, we do thank you for attending our rites, and ere ye depart to your pleasant and lovely realms, we bid you hail and farewell.
Ye lords of the watchtowers of the west, ye lords of water, we do thank you for attending our rites, and ere ye depart to your pleasant and lovely realms, we bid you hail and farewell.
Ye lords of the watchtowers of the south, ye lords of fire, we do thank you for attending our rites, and ere you depart to your pleasant and lovely realms, we bid you hail and farewell. Ye lords of the watchtowers of the east, ye lords of air, we do thank you for attending our rites, and ere ye depart to your pleasant and lovely realms, we bid you hail and farewell.
With this work properly done, I now draw up this magic circle. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. May the gods preserve the craft as the craft preserves the gods. So mote it be.
So mote it be.
I would like to thank you all for attending our Yule Winter Solstice ritual. Again, I am Selena, the High Priestess of Triple Goddess Coven, and this was your priestess of tonight's ritual, Aura. Again, we want to thank you and encourage you to visit our website, triplegoddesscoven.org, for more information about our rituals, how to become a member, and our rites of passage, as we do perform things like weddings, funerals, and wickenings. Also, check out our website to get some of our really cool merch, like tote bags and t-shirts, and your last chance, get our 2021 Coven calendar. Thank you and good night. year.
Strip ropes.
Strip.
Oh.
Naked time.
It almost looks like 2020 was a great year.